My name is Rick Seiler, Public Works Director, City of Marque. And this is just a informative open house type meeting to go over the project, the Westlawn Highland subdivision drainage improvement project. So we brought some ramps here today. I've got some notes. Den Ho, I'd like to introduce Den. He's our consultant engineer, city engineer, did the design on the project. And it's been going on for a couple of years, right? 3 years, okay. Whoa. So I'm just going to read a little bit of background information. Basically, this stemmed from Hurricane Harvey. Heavy rainfall caused flooding in homes and streets, undersized culverts throughout the city, prohibited stormwater from draining effectively. This area was affected and it was selected for improvements. So the subrecipient, which is the city, because this is a federally funded program, identified the target areas specified underneath the grant program through Texas Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Supplemental Grant Application. And the grant total was just under 1.5 million. We are doing several areas on both sides of the lake, which will kind of be able to show participants that come in the meeting. We set this meeting up from 5 to 7 just to allow people to come and go, so you don't have to stay the entire time. We don't have a lot to talk about, just basically answer any questions that people may have on the project, timelines, what we're doing in particular locations. Generally on the west side on Melody and Mary Street, we are putting in some storm inlets to improve drainage in those areas and some underground piping to move water out of that area. Currently, that water sheet, we call it sheet flows. It basically just goes in the street, goes down the curb lines, and finally gets into an inlet.
Melody you're talking about, that goes out 45. No.
So currently everything kind of sheet flows toward westward. The rest is just going directly to westward. And so what we're doing is we're kind of and then causing a big ponding area right here. The inlet's not big enough to handle all that capacity. So what we're doing is adding additional inlets at the corner of Mary Lane and Melody on both ends to be able to capture that before and pipe it under and then tie in the storm sewer. And then from there, run new storm sewer along westward on the west side, all the way down to include the storm sewer along that area, and then tie into the new textile culvert that is going under I-45. So we're improving the drainage drastically in that zone.
Is there anything that's being done to the ditches that are behind Melody, where the AT&T old building? Yeah,
yes.
That used to be, and this Apple or someone else that if they've been there in that area long enough, it used to be a bigger ditch. And
Yes,
now over time, and like commercial person, they kind of messed up the drainage.
Yeah, I wondered if you identified in the root cause analysis if there was a fact. If so, what it was. When that vacant lot next to the National Guard Armory was sold off, some guy that bought it came in to build a big trench around it, closed off the ditch to use drain, and how we got in there.
So
Our neighborhood had asked about the city to look into that before they rezoned it, where they do that. But didn't do very well with that. I wondered if that had any impact on the flooding before that. Our neighborhood never flooded. We get a little bit of water on the good road. It's never even got up the driveway or something.
So the concern when we visited the site and we did our analysis, we basically looked at the internal of the subdivision. We did not consider overflow coming from the offsite. Because technically the lot is higher than the back lot. So, those that are, the area that we're picking up as defined in the study was the lots itself. And we're picking it up further north than it would, because currently everything drains to these two little inlets at the intersection.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
This is down. The pipeline is uphill.
Down to where it flows to the newspapers.
It's done. So
And right there.
at Westwood,
Right there. This side, that's my house, so I'm kind of interested. Going through my yard.
so we're not changing the grades of the street. What we're doing is we're collecting the water prior to it going straight down. So we're picking it up, putting it underground instead of all of that sheet flow coming directly to this corner. We're picking it up beforehand and then putting it in the pipe and then piping it, and improving the piping along Westward as well. And then so that it has sufficient capacity. Because right now, this is a bowl right here. Every time it rains, the city has to come out there, the public works have to come out and put a pump on it, pump it over. Just because those inlets have very limited capacity. And part of that is just draining the entire subdivision. There's two little inlets. So we're putting 3 inlets on this side, and then 3 inlets on this side. The pipeline acts as a high point, and it kind of split the drainage area through there. So we're picking it up here as well. These inlets are kind of beat up, so we're replacing those 2 inlets at the corner as well.
They're collapsed, or they collapsed.
They're very limited. The openings are very small. They don't have the capacity to drain a enormous drainage. When I say normal, typically is a 2-year storm event. So and that's based off of previous year, the old design, which is very limited. We're not sure how it was designed, but we're coming back and sizing it properly to current standards.
I kind of had an image when the water got so high in Harvey, I think right up to the top of the foundation of my house, like I told you to where it runs up with the arm.
On the backside, yeah. So,
South side.
oh,
If that's what it's out, I had this mental image of the highest point of water.
yeah,
Suddenly, wherever that rain comes out, 12 big trash bags, 3 trees, and 1 big waiting for it. Out from that rain, that's when the sun was starting to rain. Is there any way you could tell that this was clogged up with garbage?
on the backside, we can certainly look at it.
Sure.
Public Works can
We can.
certainly look at
That's
it.
one issue, that residents keep their trash cans sitting out on the street, when it does start flooding.
Yeah.
The trash cans down over, all the garbage flows down with that, I don't know if there's anything to do about enforcing that. So let the people in the neighborhood know, I mean, we all ask, but
Second, that's Armory, that's not the AT&T. Is that there? No.
Behind her house is the arm home.
yeah, my backyard is up against the parking lot of Camel Park.
And I'm right next door to her, and I did have water in my house, enough that it soaked up my rug in the living room.
So, I mean, no, Harvey is in its extreme bad condition.
It was the first street event.
It's the first, and so what has transpired since Harvey is the state of the feds have updated the rainfall data, and now the criteria is increased significantly. Originally, it was based on 1950 data, 1950 is what they call it. And that data, the typical rainfall for a 24-hour, for 100 year, has 1% chance, not 100 once every 100 years, was 13.5 inches over 24-hour period. The new Atlas 14 department is closer to 17 inches. So there is a substantial increase in data. And so what that's doing is forcing all of the criteria to change. the drainage criteria, so, the storm sewer, the retention requirement on the new development, it's have to be designed to. So that's part of the improvements with new data, it's got the cost to absorb it and more, as new improvements comes in, so part of what, with new scientific data, the criteria is updated to reflect.
So you updated it to this new criteria. This plain,
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Another
Now,
concern,
keep in mind, the storm sewer are designed for a 5-year storm, it's not designed for a 100-year storm. The city or any best won't be able to afford to design something to a 100-year event, which is pretty extreme.
one of the photos I sent was the next year in September. And it was just a rainstorm, but it was through in about 30, 35, 40 minutes and more was halfway up in the water.
So that area, like
It's not-
I said, it's consistently flooded.
It's a salvageable with really.
Yeah, so part of this is improving that range in that area, so that sooner the water can get out, the less it will collect and over the dimension. Part of this, adding these infrastructure is to pick up that flow before it gets down to this salad bowl as you.
Well, another question several of the residents have talked about. Is our concern is what kind of urgency is assigned to this project? There might be a ton of things to see.
So-
Because we.
So the design at that time, when we were awarded it, it was fast track. It was fast track and we finished that design in 6 months, which is, a lot of work for a short period of time. But as the city manager at that time, he wanted to make a priority, but the way the GLO operated was, you can't do your environmental assessment, you can still the planning law to 100%, which it was at the time. So, and this has been going on for 3 years. They started the environmental
The
assessment.
environmental review has been a hang up.
Yeah.
It has been.
It's been going back and forth for the last 2.5 years, and when I say we're close, we're about weeks away from getting that.
Yeah, we had a final meeting yesterday, as a matter of fact, on moving the project so that environmental review will get submitted this week is the intention.
There's some notification.
can you, Rick, can you explain some of, because we talked about the environmental
Mhm.
survey that was sent back from GLO, can you explain some of what's happened, that's taken some of the time?
So, My understanding, and this is even before me a little bit, but my understanding was, and some of it was related to COVID, but the people that were actually working on grant administrator and the person that was working with them on the environmental review, and those are two different people. One of them lost her husband, the other one had some other COVID issues, so the whole COVID thing really crashed this thing pretty hard, from what I understand. And so there was a long period of delay there on trying to get that work done by the people that were contracted to do it. That's just going up my understanding. There were some corrections made by GLO on some early submittals on that environmental review, which had to go back. And that's what came out in the meeting yesterday. There was still 2 or 3 small tweaks, that they want to see in these environmental review report documents. So basically, it's a document that tells the contractors and tells the city what we do to protect the environment during the project and how are we affecting things. And it covers wildlife and the surrounding areas. So it's a pretty intense document that's required on these contracts. And so that process is a huge part that there's been some difficulties with, like Jim said, that the engineering is one aspect, they can design this stuff, but because it's a grant project through the government, the environmental review period is huge. And unfortunately, there's just been some stumbles on getting that done. And that's really been a large part of the delay has been on this environmental review.
I know we have a process.
And
hazardous, but I don't think we have any snail darters or.
Yeah.
I sure hope not.
Yeah.
Do not do that.
They identify all that in his environmental review.
It doesn't receive a lot of scrutiny from the fact that it's in government practice. There's a lot of notifications, believe it or not,
Tribal.
files and things of that sort that have nothing to do with this area. So the notice has to go out and there's a waiting period that requires them to either say, no, yes, we're interested, or no, we're not interested in the project. And then when we receive the clearance, then they can proceed on to the next step. Fortunately, that's, as mentioned, as Rick mentioned, there's going to be administration change.
Both internally and.
And it's kind of been, I believe I'm the only consistent one, that's been on this project, but we only deal with the engineering side, the other side of it, the grant and environmental. I'm not privy to a lot of that, because they kind of stuff over too, but with Rick here, I've been feeding in as much information as as we know, and kind of help move this along. But we're about, maybe 30 days away at the next council meeting, I believe. We're going to put it on the agenda to notice to advertise the bid, and then look at bidding this project in December or January. Depending on the time, we try to have as many bids as possible, so that we get the contract.
They will bid them for 30 days.
Yeah.
We have to get a document called release of funds. We actually submit, and that's part of the grant process, to submit release of funds. So all grant funds work like that. We, as some people know, the city was fortunate to get some other grants, but all that grant funding, none of that money's in our bank. It's all sitting in federal money banks. And so once that gets released, and even when it gets released, we still don't get the money. You know, there's a process of submitting the payments, and it's got to go through that process. So it gets paid out as the work gets done as we move forward.
He has some experience like that with email insurance money, and then 14 different people. I was gonna say, we don't have any natural wetlands either, all of that ditch they go behind our house in the vacant lot. There's an artificial.
We verified with them yesterday, there's no wetlands in the project area.
Both that they done around the vacant lot.
So there's no wetland in the project area.
You know, addressing what you talked about, that drainage ditch right behind you, the property that back to the bar. There's that ditch back there, the ditch from years ago, it came down right about behind, I think it was 3107, 3109, and it did a nice sweeping turn, and it went out to the boulder on the 45 at that time. It was a nice wide ditch, it was engineered, and water flowed off nice. Whoever bought that property back there, they filled in that ditch, and they put in that little narrow ditch right along that fence. Imagine the water just sits there and it backs up. And I'm thinking the number of people that are here in Marque that they think the water came in from the field side, not the street side first.
So what, I think she mentioned,
Right, yeah, from.
We're on the outer side of.
it's outside the boundary of
Yeah,
the.
it is, right behind them.
So we're,
Yes,
we're gonna,
yeah.
we just brought your attention.
It's there, I live there. Yeah, it's right behind me.
So we'll look into it, I'm just directing kind of look into it. You can't necessarily incorporate this into this project, I can tell you that right now, because you'll set it back another 5 years. But we'll look into it to see if there's any,
Especially if you got filled in.
yeah, it looks like there might be some violation. They can't go in.
As far as city manager, I just arbitrarily hired somebody to come and trench it out to do this block drain. And it runs right through the middle of the city right away, so he just dug it right through the middle of the city property. I thought that there's a right of way between the armory and between the residence.
Mhm.
And so when the power company comes out to look at cutting tree branches or doing anything, there's this big ditch, they can't get public vehicles down. So I mean, that's a
Well,
city man.
yeah.
Not necessarily the road.
We can certainly look into it. I think, at the direction of we'll certainly look into it. I think there's, I think today's focus was just kind of give the citizens an overview where we're at with this project, and what's entailed. As Rick mentioned, the project was, awarded 1.4.
1 point, right at 1.5.
Rather than 1.5 million. And when it was originally budgeted 2018, this would have been, all of this was part of the project was designed to. Well, to be transparent, what we're experiencing is a significant cost increase in a lot of construction. So our main focus is making sure that this part of the work is being done. And then the main line, trunk line that feeds through the Highland subdivision. There may be some areas where we're gonna have to look at cutting from doing alternate bids, meaning if there's sufficient enough funding, will be added to the project, will be included, but there will be a base bid and any other costs associated, so that that if there's funding available, we're gonna go all. But if we exceed that 1.5 million, or 1. A little bit over 1.5, under 1.5.
1447 to be exact.
And certain part of the projects, more than likely what we're thinking is these little areas that feeds off at the feeder ditches would be an add alternate item to the project. They're a big part of the project.
We presume that it's not a all or none project. It's not
That's
that
correct.
everybody don't have everything, you're still gonna do the
Okay.
main priority and then the
Yeah.
next priority and then the.
Yeah.
And that's pretty typical with a lot of projects, that we do a base bid and we put in all items. Base bid comes in, averaging and exceeding what we've got, when we got so much funding, through the program. So then, if there's work to be done over that, we just gotta figure out what
That's part of the challenge is that there's been a significant. It's been a significant cost increase, and we're trying to balance as much as we can, prioritize the areas that in the greatest need. And then work our way back.
Where's it gonna start?
So this area right here is our main focus. And then the trunk line, the main artery of the system is what will be that far. And then the feeder line that comes off it, we'll have to just determine there's sufficient place. Because without your trunk line, you're just including stuff and it's just gonna back up and place to go. So
So then when you were pointing at like westward, it looked like that area.
Just
Yeah, so are you also talking about the places on Melody and Mary Lane where the water will go in?
yeah, this would be
Are you
probably,
saying you're including that in the
yeah,
first part?
this is
that is
probably,
our priority.
this part of it, yeah.
If it's not, it's not.
No, yeah, no, that is probably when this whole project was originally conceived because of this wall that the flooding in this.
Can you point to where those will be for everybody on the area around them?
So it'll be right at the intersection of Melody and Mary Lane, both ends. The pipeline that cuts through the property acts as a high point, and it kind of sheet flow toward that area. So we'll pick that up. There's 37 inlets at each corner. We'll pick that up and then put new piping and upgrade the inlets at the intersection of westward on both ends.
Yeah, there's the highway construction out behind us. We could look at it and see there's some serious tank being added on to the highway. In addition to the width that's being added on. They're coming way up.
The work coming,
You know, they're putting in terms of their own grading.
They're putting it in great.
work,
It's the government. I mean, tell everybody it's the government.
and we're tying into that.
Okay.
We're tying into that range, because their pipe comes up to right around this area. And we're tying right,
We gotta get it across.
they're getting off the pipe, we're tying that right up.
I mean, I understand there's only so much you can do for sitting on top of the water table, and when the tide comes up and the water goes down, and there's a point, this is no place for it to go.
So you won't have any drainage at the back part.
The back part is not part of, yes, there's no, that's not part of the scope of this project. The back part here, so your high point is here, right? And so the sheet flows to this corner, and then we have 3 inlets that picks up all the flow this corner, and
So the top corner is the park.
Yes,
yes.
the Westlawn Park.
So somebody had talked about maybe put more. Change the attention.
It got I heard that mentioned, and that might have been, I don't know where that idea came up, but what Jen's explaining is this is a liquid control gas, right? And so, I mean, they've got that across this property, and that's actually a high point that runs through that park, so the park's actually a little high, and you can't really, it's not in the right location to really put the attention.
You typically don't put the attention on the high, you put it on the low side, so it collect it and slowly feed her out.
I just don't know how the water is gonna run uphill. That's what I can
So-
you're in a bowl.
So
Yeah,
this is the high point, right?
but I don't see that when you walk in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a little bit higher.
yeah, a little bit higher, and then it drains down along the street, this whole subdivision, the basis of it is using the gutter line as the conveyance for the drainage.
Yeah, because it fills up at Westford, and then it starts backfilling toward.
Exactly. Yeah.
The
So
problem's down here.
Yeah.
You know, down where the problem's at, this is continually back up to the water.
They're also collapsed there, correct?
You know, we understand there's some issues with that, but those boxes are getting replaced, right?
Did they
yeah, both of these are,
close their-
they're not collapsed, they're not in the greatest shape. And I'm sure there's some debris in there that's.
I mean, there's plenty wide opening, but we can't see what goes into it. Like, the pipe, it's that big coming from the nice.
Well-
back.
And this is a 42.
Yeah, so we have the 30-inch pipe and then 42.
42 is pipe coming off the bottom. So even if that pipe right now is 24, it used to be 24, and now it's 6. What we're gonna have is 42. Brand new.
And we're putting new blocks, new inlet blocks. So those 2 little inlets on both sides, we're removing those because the openings on those inlets are very,
Very
very
small.
small. Very small.
Any kind of raising across the openings, because residents around there have always gone down and starts filling up, they go down here, and then it breaks and they drag 3 inches, people don't go with trash. and stuff.
They're gonna be,
Because it's wide
yeah,
open.
so they're gonna be like type C inlets, what you see along the road. The openings are about 4 inches or so, 4 or 5 inches. And
There's no
you can't,
bars.
no, you don't put bars, and the reason why you put bars is you get trash collected, and it stops everything. So, then you really start to flash over it.
And there's that drain there on Westford going towards the feed,
Yeah, down in this area.
that'll be, but
Yeah, yes, we're trying, there's an improvement. in that area. This is kind of high level. We have more detail.
So with all this, streets don't get messed up. Yeah, that's including, I mean, what's the street gonna look like afterwards? Because when they fix a pipe, it doesn't look nice. afterwards.
Much after, but it might think something that we.
They'll solve. Yeah, yeah, if we solve color, it's gonna be nicely. We can solve that, we'll do like. We're not gonna patch, just throw some asphalt over it.
But you can see where they had to cut out the curb was, and they just ended up leaving the stands.
Yeah.
This day is.
Yeah, so our standards are different from what it was back then, I guess.
Sorry, when?
Since I've been here, we have a different group of inspectors. And our team. Make whole contractor account. I think if you have, let's say, public works, but when they do a patch and repair, they're usually, with their expertise, it's more wide ranging. They're not expert in doing street
Curb and
repair,
gutter.
curb and gutter, and asphalt. The contractors that's gonna do this project, that's gonna be what they do. Construction project.
When you get done with the big stuff going forward, check with us and tell us the retro stuff.
Just
My card goes back.
That's the part, it's getting these things, because this has always been an issue since I've been here, not for 4 years, but it's always been an issue. Every time there's a rain event, there's barricades, all along that area.
There is because we raised them. Because we're scared, we don't want it.
And I don't blame you at all. I don't
We've
blame you.
lost too many cars, too much of our belongings.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, again, it's why we're pushing for urgency. I worked for this government, the state government for 40 years, and then worked for the Harris County Hospital District for another 12, and all I have to do is tell people is the government, if I want to know why stuff is being done. There has to be something to do, somebody there has to.
But we push this project on the engineering side as fast as we can. And got them to the point, the environmental. This is not the only job I have that has the same. Yeah, it's the environmental part is always a challenge. And the newer project, the recent city beach project, they've been more open to allowing environmental, starting environmental during the design. Whereas instead of after 100% completion, they're allowing it to start after 30%. We do then complete 100%. So
And there's a lot of scrutiny. So I call it, but there's a lot of groups, cheese, cross, and dot. And that's why we hire an outside grant administrator, which is additional cost to get the project done, just because of all that red tape and paperwork that's required to do the.
You have to do that, because otherwise, there's no way it's ever.
If the city's doing a project, typically we do it in a very short period of time. So,
when there's funding available and then like from the city budget, then the project will be a lot faster. It's controlled at the local level. When it goes to federal funds, you have to go through so many groups and you have to send letters to tribal. That's the sin.
What's frustrating that I look at, there's government agencies holding each other's money up. My analogy that I use to try and get things through is it's one pair of pants with money in different pockets. And you're not moving money from this pocket to this pocket to make this money come out of this pocket. It's the same pants and it's the same money you end up paying for it anyway. But you've got FEMA, which is federal funds, and has to shell out the money to pay for everybody's insurance if they have FEMA flood insurance. And FEMA emergency fund if they didn't have FEMA insurance, because that's the only option we have when we live this Gulf of Mexico. So they're shelling out money like crazy. And then you've got another government agency saying, well, it's longer than a little month, which might be 6 months, but it's long. So it's really frustrating for Marque, and I know it's gonna be frustrating for your Marque, because you guys have to deal with it, you just have to swear more on that, that's all there's to it. So, personally, I'm sure not a lot of people here, we really appreciate they knowing that this is going on, because we haven't gotten any communication yet in the past, other than, well, the highway's gonna fix that, we just have to wait, well, they're not gonna fix us, they're gonna fix them.
Yeah.
So, this is the first time we've gotten anything on.
Mr. Witt is, since he's been on, he's done a lot of, communication with the public, and wants to, kind of push that information through.
Fix all the problems.
Well, yeah. It's been a lot.
Well, there's some of the ways things were done in the past. I thought it should be reported. It's better.
And I think sometimes the people who used to be here have the best intentions, but we kind of meet the hell out of the same wall. So we're stuck with the wall, we used to be the head on. Use the patient, don't go away like the master said to be. You stick around with the property.
And we've got, four more areas in town. Similar to what the right. Road to be first, but we've got 3 more behind this. Or have similar problems. We're looking for funding, to be able to do those.
And we have any Girl Scouts, and then these Scouts been pretty good.
Think of buildings and.
So you're the one that Laura calls for us, right? Because
Sure.
we all call Laura.
All your.
This doesn't have Laura's number.
No, you don't know.
Laura, Laura gets things done for all of us. So, and.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. But she's tired of us all calling her.
Well, I can start calling too.
Well, it's like I told Rick, that, the neighbors haven't heard anything, and I would ask him about the project, and I told him, we feel like they've forgotten. And so he was gracious enough to say, let's do an information. I think that's what I'm needing in fiber. So,
It helps to have at least some,
Communication.
big, very big.
And we're trying to get more information on the webpage that's being worked on by the TV part. Josh, we're trying to file up here for some of our screen today for it. So, I mean, the whole, we got any city managers, so a lot of things trying to move forward.
What kind of timeline do you suspect to don't bother calling more for the next X number of days, but in 30 days, we might have more, or 60 days, or.
So we plan to go to bid, like Ben said, January, February. We've got, for instance, we're talking about delays. Even if we get the environmental gets approved, we have to do a public notice, another public notice, another 18 days. So they won't release anything until that public notification ran in court. He does it. So once then we put bid documents together, which we've done somewhat put together, and get the bid, 30-day bid, review the bids, take it back to the council, award the contract, then we get a contract from the board. At that point in time, they got to order material. I don't know that you're going to issue getting, you got to do pipe, you got to get inlets, you hear about all the supply chain stuff. I know there's issues out there. We can't even get base lock.
So look out on my house, that could be.
So we got, the timeline on it is throughout 2023. We can get this done in 2023.
So from the how long do you see that project for our?
From the construction standpoint, once we get a contractor on board, they will actually get
time on it, for the contract, but
We're anticipating.
9 months.
Just for our name.
Well, the neighborhood, in that area, well.
Oh, like a whole-
Yeah,
And we'll start on this side first.
Yeah.
part of that is, street closures and, rerouting and there's a lot of planning that's involved. We shut this down, for.
Detours.
Yeah, detour, Sure. And we're taking out drainage, drainage, adding new drainage system, so.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
See, that was my, yeah.
So our goal is we start first quarter, February to May, from February to before hurricane season. At least the bulk of the work, right, the major storm.
We're not in a worse situation.
Right.
in the process.
In September.
So you have the pump ready, right?
We have two actually.
We just have permanently in our neighborhood, if somebody can run out there and kick it on the floor, I don't know.
And if it keeps backing up for all the way in Frank's old house, I'm gonna be surprised, but I'm pretty high on that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we will sequence the project a little bit, so typically we probably start lower end and go up.
Yeah.
Once again, we gotta fix the lower end. On stormwater yard, we're gonna do lower end.
No,
Yeah, so that corner right there, at Melody and Westward, you get fixed pretty soon. That'll be one of the early part of the project. So even if we don't have those upper inlets in yet, getting water off there's gonna be a lot better than we reporting to the fire.
so how many industries, talk about how many countries live in the neighborhood right now?
So we're putting in 6th edition,
Oh, in,
and yes,
also down there.
three at,
Yeah, pointed on.
Yeah.
so we have 3 here, 3 on the side, to pick it up before, and then new inlets here, and replacing the old inlets at the intersection. 2 here, and then we'll have intermediate inlets, along.
So it's gotta be in front of somebody's house, that would be right. That would be.
That's gonna be like, right,
It would be right up to, so
Right at the curb.
right up in, it's not.
Well, I'll be referring to the drainage, so I'm
There you go, you're. We're good, we're straight. And once again, from an engineering standpoint, teach background, the spacing on inlet is all, these streets, they live not that 100 feet or so. I mean, typically they're spaced out by a block or maybe 300.
So typically you have a low point, right, where it converges to, whereas in this subdivision is a little different. Everything's flowing straight down, so these inlets are gonna only pick up the area front, they're not picking it going up, they're not picking up moving down to them. At this point here, it's going straight down, so you don't have the same area that you typically have in the subdivision, where you have about 250 feet of both, and you only have the upstream coming down.
something for the city manager, and even the people to remember is, while you're saying all the water runs this way, and that's nice, it does. You also have to remember that because they do that when they build the subdivision, the houses on those ends are much higher. The houses down Mary Lane, down the back of Melody Drive are right down there at the street level, so just because it only raises up this far, and that part of the neighborhood, that's in their driveway, and in their little extra section. Where we live, we only got a little bit of water, because those who not down for the weekend, for the festival.
And
The houses were drier because they were all private. So the houses down on Mary Lane, down there.
more than y'all.
I got part of my accident where water lapped in from the wind. Gave me under, I had a
Just a couple of houses, I think.
yeah, but I knew I had some for the water.
Yeah, there is.
And it's just a side request. for the vehicles that come down there with the rains, when it comes up and floods, could you ask the city drivers not
Slow
to
down.
fly through there at 900 miles an hour? They waves all the way up into the buildings, so it's the water sides. They fly through there like it's a racehorse. And we're not, they say slow down, slow down.
Yeah, and this is just a side thing. We've been in,
Unnecessary.
we've been in our house for 30 years.
Yeah, I think.
And when we first moved in, I don't remember having as much trouble. Am I right, Jimmy?
Well, and it might be a coincidence, is once they sold off that land, we closed up drains.
Right. I mean, there were, they did the food and drain things.
Well, this is why I want this neighbor.
Yes, he
He's
did.
been in the neighborhood since it was brand new,
Correct.
like 1990. My mom, I'm all the way right now, 93, and then, I'm on her to tell,
History.
yes, because back when she would have been, when the houses were pretty much brand new, not just her, but also Miss Martha in the back. They've been here the longest, and, but behind her is the telephone.
Oh, that's fine.
So she can tell you a little bit about what happened when they came. So, go ahead, I'll bring it, but, yeah. Do you want to stand up? She was a teacher for Marque for many years. Feels like.
Let me tell you something that happened to me one time. Well, I've been introduced all kinds of ways, but this is quite stupid.
Tell them about the AT&T building real quick, so we don't get on the,
The whole building, they built a whole bunch of concrete. There was a great big deep ditch behind the house, all that. Now, I might have got the right idea, but it's ugly, so it, so if I was company, the board company came to it. It was working. Anyways, I'm pretty, and, there's a fence, and like, stick a fence, now, my fence, but they're pushing, not, but anyway, there was no problem with the rain on the telephone, on the property, until the telephone put a big slab behind it, for the building and the house, and the hall. And it is just really good. And before that ditch was covered, you can't only be raining by the next morning. So, they got a little bit tired of the other kids. They got a little all of that, and, they were talking about it here and there and gone, and somebody got over it, and somebody went over it well. So we had more water. There's more water, and on the but anyway, the whole thing had its own 3-car garage, 2-car garage, 2-car garage, and I think another 2-car garage. Together in the city, we never even got started. And so they didn't have one to live soul. I would rather so, well, with that, by that time, I had a, you probably know, I think that's what they call it, too, I don't think it's too. Anyway, my big, jump 2 and I jumped away.
And so I went back to the office. It's still there, and we're still doing things that we want to do. And those garages, well, that's been following, yeah, all the time. That's my garage. And then the other garage, it's alcohol. You know, I have it outside the garage, the water, if I get this like that, you know, I put the books off the line, and sit in the bed. This is it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we got other things that I'm sure. Okay, that's fine. Well, let me just tell you. I got the bike, I think, and I think it's really. My students were, they had me do it all the time. Now, so listen. Anyway, we were going from 3 football, 5 foot, 5 foot. Okay, I had this everything all over. And everything, my name. And this boy. I said, my right hand, my one, and that is you can't do it. She gave me so many. And like, oh, you go on talking about how you don't like it. Well, we do it for yourself. One thing, just yourself. L, how, L. Translation from foreign life. And I wanted to use my day to now, our names are the same, God, it's we two in heaven and earth. I said, well, we won't have time. Because my name is God, no, not really, you're not gonna go with it. No, oh, this is my gracious. You don't bring on the good weather, you don't think I'm do you think I'm impatient? You know, I'm doing demonstrations today. I can go and I always get on the floor to get it. When you do, it's wow. I get wrong. As long as you do it, so I'm involved, not, you know. I'm boss and you will do what I say. Oh, you might have to go see. Well, I don't want to go down the road. You know, you're a good teacher one time. Yeah. You were a good teacher one time. Yeah, I'll help you to see. So, we appreciate it.
That's similar to what we were talking about, the guy that bought that land from the National Guard armor got up off of it. There had been that nice bridge behind your own house.
Yeah.
You build that in,
Yep.
to make a moat around his property, so it looked better because he wanted to sell it. And then you go to the pitch, right up the street, and run downhill. Right behind my backyard, there's a mosquito pond, there's a drainage and all that. But that's a side job.
And evidently, that's not something y'all are gonna be doing, is that right?
Right, as far
That's
as.
really a city thing.
That's the first I've heard about it, so.
Yeah, see, and I call them periodically, mow your ditches. My husband gets down to go, some mow, and they
Maybe not mowed the yard recently, but the left.
yeah, but it's halfway done.
But while you're waiting on the money to come in for this, and you're waiting on the environmental stuff,
Take a look.
that's a city project, either.
Really take a look. One of the things that we do with ditches is, I do, is because we're spending your money. Number one, making sure the city did, you know, because some drainage channels are actually on private property, so. You talk about the armory, you talk about AT&T, they basically can't fill in if the drainage channel is put on their property if it's done in the property. You can leave it there. Engineering looks at that.
Well, whoever bought that property for them, that building,
Mhm.
they rearranged the
Right,
drainage.
and if it's private property, then it's not a city ditch, right? Well, the city ditch has to be
generally have to be on right away.
They don't need to put them up.
So he's lived next door to the front, and he called it for kind of neighborhood, 1953. And he said there was an easement back there. And drive the car out there, right, that I could pull into the back fence. And finally, it was decided to get the ditch back, and to put that driving, the thing, travel, they dug a ditch back there, poor drainage, it came around right behind the house, when it got to the point, it made a wide curve, went out and joined up with a culvert under. When the next guard sold that big popular guy, he just arbitrarily went in and filled up portion ditch. He cut that little straight channel along the fence, which is extremely inadequate, not adequate for drainage.
And then I told them, if they came out, well, that.
I was told that the National Army didn't really own that property, which is why I thought that the city owned it at least. Yeah, I can be wrong, I can lie to more.
I was told it. Yeah,
They used to, they don't.
no,
No, so. I'm good on the county now. That's where I'm.
yeah, but along the fence and then along the armory fence.
I'm actually, I'm from very close to that.
Yeah, that's a very thing with that. Some of that was got caught.
Some areas that made all this start. You know, those ditch areas, all the way around, really, it began with some on the back side and on the side. So I think,
After I went put a big set of concrete steps out in the middle of that ditch also, because they have somebody living in their big travel trailer for quite some time after that, and then they put their steps out there. So whoever was living in their travel trailer. And this area is behind your house. Right, it's in the alleyway, see, right, is the water running from that area? out to the
Not
street,
really.
you know? It seems like it should be going toward 45. The main part of that alleyway, it's just an alleyway. Yeah. Like they said, you drive on it and you come to that gate and you go. Because I've got a simple garage in the backyard, you can use it. But, and the neighbors, whoever have their lawnmower out to go mow it, keep it down, just to keep it down. But once it gets to the middle of my backyard, it's just half an armory, where that big lot is towards the north. Like I just came and did a bridge, they rolled ditch around his property and went right down the middle of what seems to be the city easement. Because when we bought our property, we were told that this is city property, but it's an easement, you can't put a bunch of stuff out there, it's city. Or it is like an alley behind the house. It's a central alley, because, you know, and we have some of those in town, you know, somewhat, well, we would cut in design ones, the alley. Well, it used to be real handy because the power company would go through that, would drive their equipment through that alley and trim all the trees so that power line would go down and stuff. Well, now they get to that ditch and that, and it's shot, so all the houses from the middle line, they're all.
Slow. It also made a wide curve, for pretty, they drain off.
Well, so the water didn't go to westward, the water went down before that curve to the nice ditch that will run over to 45, that whoever bought the property originally, when it went from the National Guard to whoever owned it. Built it, and I said, you were now, I'm not sure.
But I called the city several times about this.
So did you, but that was before long.
All the done being active.
And that big, that big cast iron.
Remember it rezoned?
Some big, you know, when they, you know, caution go, doing something like that. Mostly it was just a place to leave this big giant cast iron, it looks like there's gonna be a roof with a big warehouse. I mean, you did brass and hospitals and the hawks like that. You know, there's brass and license things out there. So why you wait that much for it? But, we'll be sure.
Well, yeah, because, well, the other road floods a lot now. There's, and TxDOT is doing, I actually talked to Mayor about this a couple weeks ago, or whatever last time, because TxDOT is doing a horrible job of maintaining our work sites in our county. The last couple of years, I've been in probably 6, 7 different states, and this is the most poorly maintained stretch of work zone that I've seen on a freeway between Montana, Wyoming, Minnesota, even in Texas, going up 45 north to Arkansas. There's not trash, there's not overgrown weeds, there's not drainage areas that are covered with rebar. We've got brand new overpasses with trees growing out of them already. I mean, it's,
How many times have they broken our water? Since they started?
well, the thing I'm saying, you know, you're talking about having to, obviously, I came in, I got here late, but, you know, we're gonna have to reroute traffic to get around the work. We already have a drainage issue on that section of the feeder road. You know, and then you're gonna have movement of earth and all these kinds of things, and it sounds like there was a drainage ditch behind there at one point. That water with all that concrete on the freeway, it doesn't have anywhere to go. I've been in my house for 21 years, and that feeder road, until they started doing the construction, has not consistently flooded. And right now, there was one time, that was actually, in August, I was trying to leave my house 3 times in 1 week. I had to drive to Texas City, the back way, to get out of my neighborhood, just to get around to 45, because between the construction, the flooding. So while this is going on, it's probably going to be worse the way that TxDOT is maintaining this stretch of road. I mean, they've got drainage ditches with all kinds, drainage, the big square drains with stuff just piled around them in the dirt, and I mean, I don't know why, and I think it's the Galveston area office. Because when I got to the north side, we saw construction in big and little cities, their work zones did not look like this.
It's pretty chaotic.
It's very chaotic. Yeah.
And I'm not sure because they're trying to do it all at one time. Because they started with the northern section at 1764,
Yeah.
and then they moved to the second phase, which is right around where you're at. But then all of a sudden they started 04 and 03 at the same time. That's the designation. It was 06 and 5, and you know where you're at is 05. And they started all the same time, and I believe it's the same contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get past Dickinson, it's improved. So I don't know why Dickinson, Texas City stretch, and Lamar are being maintained the way that they're being maintained.
Well,
We've got our own ecosystem going on in the construction zone. If someone's house looks like that, code would have taken it over.
Well, they're also treating like Marque differently.
Yes.
Like when there is a pipe that they bust in Lake City, did Lake City make them pay what that they should be doing? They should pay. There was something like
You know,
Lake City, I think Lake City made them pay for the repair.
And
Pay
they
for the
rely
repair.
on for the inconvenience to the residents and cost to the city for having a pool. Why shouldn't they?
Yeah, this is gonna be like the way that everything's being dealt with on 45 in our area right now, and then you add this into the mix for us that live in the neighborhood. I mean, it's not only, it's just ugly, but it's also a safety issue. I mean, it's a life safety issue of just emergency vehicles been getting, need to get in, if it's raining and we're flooding, getting out, or we have a hurricane, let's say we finally get rain next year, then all of a sudden the hurricane season rolls around and y'all are gonna have to find some high water vehicles to come get us.
Please don't drive 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we did. Our house, so they're gonna get rain. I'm in the corner of Bannon and Bonnie, my husband in the middle of RV went to our neighbors at the corner of Crockett and Fannin and literally dug out the drain in the middle of the hurricane happening to try to have their home from flooding. Yeah. And it's been, you know, Harvey, natural erosion from Harvey, Harvey really, yeah, Harvey was a crazy thing, and then area, but it just, you know, made.
I'm sure there's no.
I don't know. We had a meeting that said, I mean, questions about the cost. And unfortunately, some of the issues in the market.
I remember beginning something about the coding on them, right? In one of the meetings, there was something about the coding, it makes it harder to find.
Yeah, there's no,
There's no
tracery. Back in the.
Front located.
I-
Front located.
There's no way to locate. The new, you know, our standards now are off there, have to be traced, so that we can identify them, locate them. You can actually locate them. But back in the day,
That's how they find a gas line when somebody starts smelling gas in the middle of somebody else's property. Call gas line. I think they were doing Sean. And then everyone before that, they had to buy this place all along.
the BBC lines and then that they do beach races as well. I mean, all the entities do it. But back then they use concrete pipe or pipe. And some, there's no way, there's no way you can detect, use a metal detector. And part of the issue is records are kept very poorly back then. And even so, you know, if these lines, you put a machine next to it, and they start failing, start blowing up. The silver instances.
And when you fix it, then that has pressure resistance on it, so that just blows it out.
Yeah. So what they, as part of this project, they're running new lines down and then replacing the old. That's over, I think over $5 million. And it's through.
So the green line. That one is one going down west of 45. Is it over 42?
No,
No,
these
the
are
green are
30.
30.
The blues are 42, the dark blue are 42, the light blue are 36. Sorry. I should have used a different color. I like blue.
The red. Oh, right, well, we found that.
Those are 48, some 48-inch pipe. I think some inconvenience on relocating, because we'll be working in the right of way. So they'll put the storm sewer right next to a curb, basically, just right inside the curb. And then, so you'll have some lane closure.
Access issue.
Access issue. Yeah. Well, we have, you can't completely, yeah, we can't completely shut it down. Yeah, I'll provide the access. It's one thing to do. I hope you. I sure hope you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Over the alligators and the moat and the rats and the things will be back.
Well, we got it. We had when it's freaking flood, we get. Figure them out.
Go for it.
Yeah, and I just parked down on Main Street, walked around, like, right there, and
Construction projects take a month.
Oh, I,
They're dirty, they're muddy.
but it's that communication,
it's important.
communication, just let them know that we.
So excited to see something being done, we're gonna have a whole lot of patients, might not fund it. Thank you so much for having us and for letting us. We just put something to it. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Oh, Paul, Lord.
Thanks, Rick.
Let's just,